My guest today, Nancy Mentesana, is Director of Advisory and Design Operations for Argyle. Nancy lives and works in New York City. I've known Nancy for quite some time. She's been involved with Proxy design for as long as anyone I know, and she's one of my favorites. She's very creative, which is refreshing change for a profession where most of us get our creativity blunted out of us. I'm Brock Romanak, today on Zippy Point. So Nancy, ESG highlights a popular topic for sure, as it should be, and disclosure about this topic is not mandated in the proxy, but yet a lot of companies are doing it, and they're doing it in many different ways, as you're going to show us some cool examples. So why don't you tell us a little bit of what you're seeing?
All right, perfect. So thank you so much, Brock. It really should come as no surprise that ESG is a matter that took center stage in 2020 and will continue to do so into 2021. As institutional investors and retail investors change the definition of long-term shareholder value, they're looking for different types of information than they have previously in a proxy statement. The most effective disclosures focus on the board's role in the effort and how a company considers sustainability and environmental and social issues more broadly in running its business. And given the number of investors that view sustainability in terms of shareholder value, groups should consider tying sustainability efforts to business performance and strategy. And though ESG has many audiences, that investor stakeholder still holds the loudest megaphone, which is why we are going to continue to see it more and more so within the proxy statement. ESG surveys also they're a time suck for nearly every company that we speak to. Some groups will engage, others will not. But the more and more you can do to make your information more accessible to these groups, and sometimes even bots that scrub information, the better the outcome. We're going to look at a few examples of companies that have done a good job in this space. So Exelon is an example of an organization that has ESG embedded into their corporate purpose. So from here, you can see themes woven through their business strategy, their board practices, and executive compensation. Notably, their focus is not isolated to the E, the S, or the G. Rather, it's a collective approach that demonstrates their understanding of impact. That is, the environment's impact on their business and their business's impact on the environment. This symbiotic relationship is a balance that most companies are seeking to understand. Before we leave, it is important to emphasize that the significance around ESG engagement, which Exelon has done a great job here. So all reporting frameworks, whether it's GRI or SASB or task force, they all value stakeholder engagement, and feedback is a key pillar to any reporting program that has truly aligned its priorities with those of stakeholders. It's important to share this with your readers, and just like you would with your governance or compensation practices, show that you are listening and adjust in response to certain outputs that they give you. Naturally, more and more groups are looking to see the link between ESG and incentives. So what this means is executive compensation. So in this Exelon example here, they specifically have this tie between relative TSR, which is the modifier for the performance shares associated with LTIP, and the achievement of their ESG goals that are aligned to strategy. So the more that can be done here to be able to emphasize that you are essentially putting your money where your mouth is, the more positive response you are going to get from your stakeholders. In our next example here, we have Lockheed Martin. Now, Lockheed has an acute focus on the association between enterprise risk and sustainability. So within their disclosures, they really go into great detail about the sustainability governance structure. So over here on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the association between the Sustainability Working Group, which is an employee group, how that connects up to the executive leadership team, and therefore into the board of directors. Now, for the board, this is an area of specific oversight for the governance committee. On the following page here, We have another great example about the responsiveness to stakeholders and their feedback. The team at Lockheed describes their feedback process and how this influences their sustainability management plan. The table here describes the outcome of that process and the key areas that this plan will focus on in 2020 and beyond. And ultimately, they finish out their conversation here with their sustainability highlights. This goes on to a further page here. So this is their current year performance plotted against their target. Their target happens to be 2020. And then down here at the bottom of the page, the final portion of the section, it shows that they understand that their impact is not just within their own walls. It goes beyond into their suppliers and their broader engagement, and also their ability through their suppliers to have a greater social impact. So collectively, what we're going to see moving into, so collectively, given that this is a primary preoccupation for a broad group of audiences, that investor stakeholder is certainly one that is preeminent in this space, but we're considering our employees, we're considering our suppliers, our customers. It's a much broader audience, but it is one that is relevant to all and something that most organizations are starting to pay attention to, and we will continue to see more in this space.
Yeah, I used to actually work at Lockheed Martin long ago, and it was the late 90s. So, of course, we weren't talking about those kind of things either in the proxy or really too much, at least in the legal department. So it's great to see how far disclosure has come, even from a personal level. That's great, Nancy.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brock.